there are several types of technologies that can be used. We're trying to map the various applications that countries worldwide are developing, and I think we can cluster them into maybe four main categories. So one is proximity and contact tracing. So proximity tracing is basically trying to measure whose paths have crossed. So which individuals came in contact by measuring relative spatial proximity between two devices. Contact tracing is when an individual tests positive for SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, then we can use the history, the data history of that person in order to understand which people that person came in contact with. Then another domain of application is quarantine compliance. So it's using digital tools to understand who is actually properly complying with forced quarantine. Then we have symptom checkers that are usually based on self-reports. So you can use these tools to monitor on a day-by-day your symptoms and inform health authorities about that. And that can also be helpful to monitor the spread of the disease. And then the last one is mobility reports or flow modeling, which is basically what Google Analytics is doing. We use large-scale aggregated data in order to understand whether, for example, this quarantine measures or lockdown measures are effective. So if people are going less often to public parks or things like that. All these different applications have different degrees of intrusiveness and privacy sensitivity. Contact tracing, for example, is the one with the highest degree of privacy sensitiveness, because it's almost impossible to make it fully anonymous, because your starting point is an individual person who tested positive. But also quarantine compliance can be quite intrusive if it's done the way that it was done in China, for example, where cameras were placed outside the homes of people who were under forced quarantine. So these are all ways through which these technologies can be used in ways that can be infringing privacy. But at the same time, we can use this very same domains of technology in a different way. So, for example, if instead of using GPS signals, which can locate, that can identify the exact physical location with some degree of approximation of individual, if instead of use proximity, for example, Bluetooth signal, then we can have a quite privacy compliant tool, because the Bluetooth signal doesn't tell you where you exactly are. It just measures the relative proximity between two devices within a limited radius. So our exercise in this article was really trying to understand what are the requirements that we need to develop, which can probably further be translated into guidelines in order to leverage these technologies for public health purposes in a manner that doesn't violate or infringe fundamental rights.
Thank you so much for checking out this clip from the Data Talk podcast. To watch the full episode, you can either go to the Experian blog, the URL is experian.com/datatalk, or you can click on the link which is found in the description of this video.